Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. At-tabi'u min la yas'alukum ajran wa hum muhtadun. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, obey those who ask no reward of you for themselves and who have themselves received guidance. I was watching something about, I think it was John Muir the other day. He was a great outdoorsman, and he had a lot to do with Yellowstone Park and all of those great, he was a big nature buff of the early 20th century. And he was a good friend of Theodore Roosevelt, who helped set aside a lot of the national parks. And he also helped do a freeze on the giant redwoods in Northern California. If you've ever seen a tree with a big hole cut in it and a car sitting in the middle of it, that's a big redwood tree. That's it's an old picture because the car was a 48 Chevy or something, or 38 something rather. It was an old car, but they were showing how big these trees are. And this guy said if you can put a dollar value on anything, the people will destroy it. In other words, the people were cutting down those big trees, those big redwoods. They're 2,000 years old. They were saying these trees were growing when Jesus Christ was walking on the earth. That's what they were saying when I was a kid. And that gives you an idea, those trees are very old. But they also said if you can put a dollar value on anything, if they can cut down those big trees and make 40 redwood houses out of one tree, they cut that boy down. They don't care what it got here. So he was saying if you can put a dollar value on anything, it's subject to be destroyed. That's why I started off with this ayat. At-tabi'u man la yas'alukum ajran wa hum muhtadun. That means obey those who ask no reward of you for themselves and who have themselves received guidance. So that's basically saying follow those who don't ask nothing from you. They don't need money, they just need a couple of sandwiches every now and then, but they don't need like most of the leaders, big houses and a lot of wealth. So follow those who don't ask nothing from you, but they have been guided. They are part of the muhtadun, those people who have been guided. So now we want to get in our program for today. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I just want to reread that again because we read constantly some outlines from the Declaration of Independence and even some parts that we recognize that should or could have been in the Declaration of Independence, but wasn't. This is the preamble to the Constitution. So it's saying we the people of the United States. That means those, this is the first government that didn't establish it right based on the king, based on the queen or anything like that. This states we the people. So that means that government has evolved. First it was just kingships, tribal leaders, and now it's saying from what they call the Enlightenment. Voltaire, Rousseau, and all these people, they had talked about the rights of man. The rights of man. So this Constitution starts with, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice. So they're saying that the purpose of this, that the people have organized and united themselves to establish justice. Justice means equality, fairness, balance. Okay, we're not going to chop holes in this, but we know that the United States of America has never practiced justice. It just hasn't. Ensure domestic tranquility. Again, there has been no tranquility in no period during United States history. There have been periods when there haven't been wholesale unrest, but those periods were preceded by heavy dictatorial actions by the government to oppress and to suppress the people. Provide for the common defense. The common defense, if you look at America now, the CIA and all those groups start wars all around the world on purpose so that their boss, which is the arms industry, can sell weapons to all of those people, both sides, and constantly rake in trillions of dollars by causing problems, by causing warfare, by manufacturing warfare. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Promote the general welfare. Black people was 3/5 of a person. White men couldn't vote, women couldn't vote, Indians couldn't vote till 1934. So they didn't have all these people in mind. They had when this Constitution was hooked up, they had the landed American aristocracy in mind. That's who could vote. If you didn't own property in those days, you couldn't vote. You had to own property. Of course, they was giving away all the Indians' land, so eventually you could. Promote the general welfare. Secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Posterity is those you leave behind. Have we inherited? What have we inherited from America? Slavery, suffering, and death. Stars on our head from being beaten to death. Race riots, oppression, and we have passed on poverty, sickness, illness, bad health care, disease, because if it's true what they say, in some cases, we're 3.6 times more it's possible for us to die of this coronavirus and other things. Sometimes they say 2.4, so they have different levels that they have. All of them are unbelievable. Can you imagine? If it's what they said, your health care, they've looked out for you in such a negligent way that you're 3.6 times ready to die when some illness flow through than they are. Something wrong with that. Even if it's 2.4. I don't like those statistics. We can't prove that they made the virus and all that to attack black people. That's not our goal today. do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. That's what it was for, and we have never received those type of blessings. We talked a little bit yesterday about the COINTEL program. COINTEL program, of course, 1956, the Communist Party, counterintelligence program, that is, to promote factionalism, confusion, dissatisfaction, harassment, and scientific disruption. What you could learn from them, they studied in detail the habits and the customs and the movements of people, so they applied a scientific method to destroy groups, movements, organizations, and parties of people that, although they were 100% legal under the Constitution, they employed total unlawful actions to destroy them. Puerto Rican movement, 11/15/1960, disruption and discord, creating doubts, defections, factionalism, friction, handwritten notes to other groups who were Puerto Rican liberation movements to fight and argue amongst themselves. We know that the black movement, we'll just be brief. What was this? March 4th, 1968, 1 month later, Martin Luther King was killed. Prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups. In unity there is strength. And if we can keep them from coalescing, from coming together, if they get together, they're going to produce a new Mau Mau right here in America. Prevent the rise of a Messiah. Prevent the rise of any person who could unify and electrify the movement and give it focus and give it direction and give it coordination. Prevent that. Use all of your science, all of your engineering, all of your technology, all of your sophistication, right? And all of your institutions, all of them. Use all of that to destroy any group of people that might have the audacity to try to free themselves or liberate themselves. Legality has nothing to do with it. All of these things that they suggested were illegal. And all the people unifying themselves, all of them were legal. In other words, the government of the United States was using all of its time, energy, and resources to destroy the liberty-minded, hopeful people of America, peace-loving people of America. And the government had all of these resources. When it says the people of the United States versus Johnny Jones, or you go to state court, it says the people of Maryland versus so-and-so. That means all the institutional wherewithal in the state of Maryland, the state police, the state prosecutor's office, all of that is against you as an individual. When they say the United States of America versus Clarence Reeves, that means the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. That means the FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, everybody. That means the press. That means the institutions. That means the great university system. That means if we have to write books and do surveys against you, we'll do it. If we have to listen to everything you do, we'll do it. If we have to follow you around everywhere to stop you, we will do it. If we have to bomb you like the government bombed in 1921 down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the bombs that dropped on that so-called race riot was dropped by white people from an aeroplane, and it was a fire incendiary bomb to help increase the fire. The second bomb that was dropped on the USA somewhere in 85, it was Move in Philadelphia. They dropped the bomb. So that means whatever we got to use, hey, it's all right. It's against you. If we have to collect statistics, if we have to pay your uncle to become a snitch or a liar, if we have to frighten all your friends away, all of that, that's what we'll do. That's what it means. The United States government against Clarence Ring, all of that. Prevent the rise of a Messiah. Why is it the FBI is using religious terminology? A Messiah. What? You're not a religious organization. Why are you using? Because this is the terminology they fear. Because every period during great historical past, the people, whether they're Native Americans, they all start looking for a Messiah. Someone who's going to raise us up out of this disaster, right? And the Muslims feel the same way. Prevent violence. And number 4, prevent black militant groups and leaders from gaining respectability. Discredit the people, and discredit them in special ways. Discredit them in a way that for that group, you want to discredit. For another group, you want to discredit them for the white middle class and upper middle class who sympathize with those people, right? And you want to discredit them also to other black militants. But they say from their study, you have to be careful on this one, because if you use too much rhetoric, it will give them added notoriety. It'll build them up. So you have to be very skillful in how you apply that for them. That means they're studying. Can you imagine why the movement in America technically lasted about only a few years? That's right, I'm telling you. If you look at 1963, if you go back, let's say the Freedom Rides. Let's go back to 1960, 61. Freedom Ride, March on Washington, 63. Watts Ride, 65. Long hot summers, 67, Detroit, and all the other cities in America almost. And then the last big day of rides was 68 when Dr. King was here. Okay. Why by 1970 and 71 was the movement finished? The rhetoric was there, but by that time, by 70 and 71, everyone was in jail. Everyone was in jail. Some had left the country. Hey, it was no revolutionary acts. All the movements were infiltrated and destroyed by 1971. Less than 10 years. Less than 10 years. And I would say from 1966 to 1971, technically 5 years. The heyday of the movement in America was 5 years. Okay. Now, who's the target? The final goal should be to prevent long-range growth of militant black nationalist organizations, especially amongst the youth. This is 1968. In 1968 was the first year, I tell you, they had a big rebellion in Detroit. It was 67 and 68. They had to send in, when the police couldn't handle it, they had the National Guard come in. When the National Guard couldn't handle it, they had the 82nd Airborne Division come in and take over Detroit. The next year, 68, you could have taken over Detroit with a fly swatter. Why? Heroin. If you take the 10 most revolutionary cities In the 1960s, in the 1970s, you will see the most drug-infested cities in the United States of America. You can go down the list. Oakland became the center of the Black Panther Party. LA, Watts riot. Detroit was they was using so much heroin in there, just destroyed the city right away. Heroin. In the 1970s. New York, Philadelphia. You go down the list. If you take the top most rebellious cities in the United States of America, in 1960s, in the 1970s, you will find right by the column the most devastated cities by heroin in the United States. 1960s, revolutionary. 1970s, devastated by heroin. Right down the line, you can go through them. Right down the list. So when they say prevent the growth of militancy amongst the youth, heroin wiped them out. And not only did heroin wipe out the community, but heroin changed the face of the black community. Heroin took a community where everybody was friendly, our doors were open, and we locked our doors. You took a group of people who never called the police for anything. And by the 70s, the young dope dealers are acting so bad that people in the community are calling the police on them. By the 80s and 90s, drugs was so bad in the United States, right? Placed here by the government. You don't find any international drug dealers, African American, right? You don't find, the only international drug dealers, cocaine and marijuana from South America was us. And we only did it a few years, and we was dealing with cocaine. Where did all the heroin come from? Who put it here, right? What purpose did it serve? It destroyed the black community. It closed up the doors, put bars on windows. It destroyed the cohesion between the people, and I knew, if you study the old newspapers in Black Fence, LA, the LA Sentinel. When I was in county jail in the early 70s, coming back from South America, I was reading in the LA Sentinel, you can go and read it right now, how